Talking Sweet 16 on the Huddle Ninja here with John Henson and Tony Farmer. And guys, I want to talk about Auburn against Michigan now. Auburn has just been kind of going about their business. You know, they ended up beating Alabama State by 20, Creighton by a dozen. Now they are tabbed as 8.5-point faves against Michigan. Total of 154 on the board here for this one. John Henson, you were a bit lukewarm on Auburn coming into this tournament. They had lost 3 of 4 coming into March Madness, double digits to A&M, by the way, in those losses. But they have they been, in your opinion, the most underwhelming so far of the number 1 seeds? I know it's a small sample size, 2 games so far, but where do they sit with the rest of the number 1s here?
I mean, I would have to say Florida's the most underwhelming when we talk about favorites, how they were in some, they didn't cover both of their games, which doesn't usually happen for teams that win it all. So I would say they've been the worst team. I think personally, we got bottom tier value and now it's right back where we thought they would be. They looked really good against Creighton. Creighton was a really good team. They beat them pretty good. I mean, I don't think we were ever worried about Auburn losing that game. So they look like the Auburn team that we've grown to know and love. So I'm kind of like getting a little warmer on them, doing more than I expected, even though they lost 3 out of 4 to end the season. But 9 points is a lot of points. So I'm definitely staying away from that. Obviously, we'll talk about that later.
Tony, Michigan barely got by UC San Diego. They did look good, to their credit, against A&M. What can the Wolverines here do against the number 1 overall seed here in the Sweet 16?
I think the script for them, if they are to pull an upset here, would be, winning inside. It's not going to be out on the perimeter. They're going to need to win this game in the paint, inside. But Michigan needs to stop with the self-inflicted wounds. This team reminds me of the 49ers that we talked about all NFL season long, where you're like, the talent is there. They're good, but they need to stop shooting themselves in the foot, stop having injuries, et cetera. And they frustrate you at times. Michigan, you mentioned that first round game where that game was tight, 55% from the free throw line. That's not good. 14 turnovers. And then the next game, they clean up the turnovers a little bit. They shoot 80% from free throw range, and they look a lot better the next week. So the talent is there with Michigan. They can stay in these games, but they just haven't consistently done it all season long. So they need to not shoot themselves in the foot if they're going to win this game.
John, do you think, and Tony alluded to the inside game here with Michigan, do you think this Michigan formula, 2 7-footers, surrounded by guards, one of those 7-footers, certainly more from the playmaker mold, that's for sure, can put the ball on the floor, can bring the ball up, can run an offense. Do you think this Wolverines formula with those 2 bigs surrounded by guards can give Auburn a headache?
I think so. I think because you're able to hold Auburn to 1 possession, that's what saved them at UCSD. Vlad and Wolf were just getting extra boards. That literally saved the game for them. So you're not going to do this against this Auburn team, push them around. So that could be interesting. And then with the turnovers and things, Michigan's shooting the ball a lot better than they have. That's why they're where they're at. So, it's a tough road. I do love Auburn this game to win it. But obviously the spread is at 9. So that's a whole nother ball game.
Tony, total, 154, 153.5. Do you reckon that total is maybe a bit high, given that these are 2, slow-ish tempo teams and both are pretty strong defensively?
Yeah, I see the logic there. I don't have a bet on the total. If you go under on this, you're going to be sweating it out because Auburn can be really explosive on offense. They put up 90-plus points against Alabama twice. And granted, that's Alabama, a fast-tempo game, but they put up 106 points against that Ole Miss team we talked about. And even Creighton, they don't have a great defense, but they got a decent defense. They just scored 82 against them last game. So I get it. I get why the total's where it's at. For me, I can't bet the total here just because Michigan gives me uncertainty because, as I said before, I just don't know how they're going to play. When I'm making bets, I want to try to remove as much uncertainty as I can, and I just don't know which Michigan team is going to show up yet.
Let's get to the picks then. John Henson, start with you. What do you like for this one with Michigan going up against Auburn?
This was tough for me because I love Michigan with the points, but um, like Tony said, I don't know if I trust them. But I'm going to trust them to score because they do have a up tempo ish kind of to have 7-footers. They play at a pretty high pace. The over is 12 and 6 out of the last 18 games where the Tigers have played. Teams with winning percentage between 60 and 80% this year. So when they play good teams, they tend to get it rolling, to get it going. Michigan has no problem with playing that up tempos type of game. So I'm going to take the over. These are two good defensive teams. So I think we're getting a floor kind of over. I think this game could be a high scoring kind of fun matchup. And both teams have no issue with running up and down and shooting the ball. Michigan turns the ball over a lot, which is indicative of just playing fast and loose. So I think this over is something, could be a fun over to cheer for. Definitely don't want to take the under. It will be a sweat. So Tony's right about that.
Tony, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to surprise you based off my last couple answers, but I want nothing to do with this game. I want to be as far away from this game betting wise. I'll sit back, I'll watch it and enjoy it as a fan, but no action for me.